car loan crisis. What you can do to avoid falling behind.
So what's behind this? Experts point to higher borrowing costs, rising car prices, and unsteady employment. Repossessions for less expensive vehicles. Consumer spending is up. The stock market is going in the right direction. But when you focus in on the road, the numbers tell a different story.
8 trucks sitting unsold for 5 or more months. The exact offer that makes dealers cave. That sounds like clickbait, but right now it's just the reality rotting on their lots. 3 years ago, getting a new truck meant putting down a deposit, getting on a wait list, and begging a dealer to move even $1 off sticker. Today, some of those same trucks are sitting untouched for half a year or more, while dealers quietly bleed thousands in financing charges just to keep them parked. One of them is a Ford F-150 Lightning that launched to massive hype and sold out instantly. Now, it's the slowest moving truck in America, with inventory taking 8 months to clear, and buyers treating it like radioactive stock the moment they hear this generation is already being discontinued. Another is a Ram 1500, a truck with one of the nicest interiors in the segment, but more than 70,000 units sitting unsold while Stellantis scrambles to undo its own engine gamble. And the crazy part? The longer these trucks sit, the more desperate dealers get behind the scenes. They can't advertise it, they won't say it outright, but the math doesn't lie. There is a specific kind of offer, a number and structure that quietly flips the conversation from no chance to where do you want to sign without you ever raising your voice. So if you knew that exact offer on these 8 trucks sitting unsold for 5 or more months, would you walk into the dealership and pay what's on the windshield, or would you finally make them cave? 3 years ago, everybody thought the truck market was invincible. You put your name on a list, waited months, and hoped the dealer didn't add another $5,000 on top just because they could. That kind of frenzy tricks manufacturers into thinking demand will stay crazy forever. So they crank up production, lock in big factory schedules, and start building trucks like the party will never end. The problem is, the market always cools down before the spreadsheets do. Interest rates go up, tax credits disappear, gas and insurance get brutal, and buyers suddenly step back. What you're seeing in 2026 is the hangover from that exact mistake. A truck ends up sitting 5, 6, 7 months on a lot because the factory built for yesterday's demand while the buyers moved on. Honda kept cranking out Ridgelines, a unibody truck living in a segment that still worships body on frame, even as shoppers made it clear they wanted real truck DNA for the money. Nissan finally fixed up the Frontier, gave it a strong engine and proper off-road chops, but they dropped it into a world where the Tacoma just eats everyone's lunch on reputation and resale. The trucks themselves aren't junk. They're just out of step with what the segment actually wants. And that mismatch shows up as one ugly number: market day supply. Market day supply is how long it would take to clear current inventory at the rate buyers are actually purchasing. When you see numbers like 150, 200, 250 days, you're looking at a truck the market is rejecting in slow motion. That's not just an abstract stat. It's a bill dealers pay every single month. Every day a truck sits, the dealer is paying floor plan interest to the finance company, tying up capital, and burning cash on something that's supposed to be rolling off the lot. At over 150 days, that truck doesn't feel like inventory anymore. It feels like a mistake they can't admit but have to live with. And the longer it sits, the more that mistake starts to hurt. Here's where that pain becomes your leverage. Every extra month a truck sits makes the dealer more willing to bend on price, more flexible on your trade-in, and more open to sweetening the deal with warranties or add-ons just to get the thing off their books. They might not show you the aging report, but the numbers are sitting in their system, screaming for action. A ridgeline with months of dust on its tires, a Frontier buried behind rows of faster-moving trucks. Those are signals that the factory overbuilt and the buyers walked. When you walk in knowing that, you stop being just another shopper. You become the exit strategy. And the first step to naming an offer that makes them cave is understanding exactly how a hot truck turns into a 5-month-old problem child no one wants to admit they're stuck with. The first group you need to understand are the heavy-duty and full-size trucks that quietly price themselves right out of their own customer base. On paper, these are some of the most capable machines on the road. In reality, the average buyer who actually needs them is looking at the payments and walking away. Take the Ford F-250 Super Duty. It's sitting at roughly 158 days of market day supply, with more than 40,000 units on lots, and an average selling price around $73,500. Contractors, ranchers, and fleet buyers don't buy on hype. They buy on math. At that price, the math breaks. For someone who needs a work truck, a loaded Super Duty in the $70,000 range means a massive monthly payment, expensive insurance, and fuel bills that stack on top of everything else. Heavy-duty trucks also live in a strange replacement cycle. They're built to last, so owners hang on to them for a decade or more. That means the used market is flooded with perfectly good 3- and 4-year-old F-250s that do almost everything a new one does for tens of thousands less. When a barely used truck can pull, haul, and tow like the new one, that shiny sticker stops making sense. The new inventory doesn't move because the old inventory is too good. The result is a pileup on dealer lots. Brand new Super Duties aging past the 150-day mark, while buyers quietly cherry-pick low-mileage used trucks instead. Then there's the Ram 1500. On the surface, it's one of the most comfortable full-size trucks you can buy, with an interior that rivals luxury SUVs. Underneath, it's a case study in how brand decisions can poison demand. In 2026, you've got roughly 70,000 Ram 1500s sitting unsold, the biggest raw inventory of any truck on the list, at an average price around $60,000. Stellantis killed the beloved Hemi V8, pushed buyers into the new twin-turbo Hurricane 6, then publicly walked it back and announced the Hemi was coming back. That back-and-forth screams, "We bet wrong," and it didn't happen in a vacuum. Reliability questions, aggressive past incentives, and years of mixed owner stories all added up to a simple reaction. People don't fully trust Ram long-term. So you end up with dealers staring at rows of expensive Rams that buyers are walking right past. The trucks themselves drive nicely, but the price and trust gap are too big. At 160-plus days of supply, carrying costs pile up. Every unit means more floor plan interest, more capital trapped, more pressure from the manufacturer to push volume, even while real demand is soft. That's why these trucks are prime targets for making dealers cave if you structure your offer correctly. The mistake most shoppers make is just asking, "How much can you knock off?" and hoping for a number. The smarter play is coming in with a clear, specific ask that solves the dealer's problem. For heavy-duty and full-size trucks sitting 5 months or more, that kind of offer usually has 3 parts. First, a meaningful cutoff MSRP, or out-the-door price, that brings the payment back into the realm where a working buyer's math starts to work again. You're not asking for a token rebate. You're asking for enough of a discount to offset the future depreciation hit on a truck the market is already rejecting. Second, you ask for long-term protection, an extended warranty, service package, or maintenance plan that calms those reliability fears and costs the dealer less than letting the truck sit another 60 days. Third, you keep the conversation framed around their pain, not your greed. You're helping them turn a 5-month-old liability into cash today. When you present it that way, with the numbers in mind on inventory age and carrying costs, you're no longer just haggling. You're offering the one exit strategy they can't afford to ignore. The Ford Maverick is the perfect example of how a cheap truck can stop being cheap and suddenly get stuck on lots. When it launched, the Maverick was a unicorn, a sub-$20,000 hybrid pickup that did real work with real fuel savings and a wait list a mile long. People were paying over sticker just to get one because the headline was simple: finally, a truck normal people could afford. Fast forward to 2026, and that headline is gone. The average Maverick sitting on a lot today is a loaded build, creeping toward and past $35,000, with an overall average price around $33,900. Once you're in the mid-30s, you're not talking about a miracle cheap truck anymore. You're talking about a small truck with a small bed competing against full-size trucks that can be had on a deal for similar money. That's how demand cools. The one thing that made the Maverick special, price, got eaten away by options, trim creep, and a hot market that encouraged Ford to push margins instead of protecting the original promise. Buyers show up expecting the sub-$20,000 story they heard 2 years ago and find mid-30s reality instead. When the price stops being the headline, the Maverick turns into just another compact truck trying to justify its existence. For some shoppers, that still works. For a lot of others, it doesn't. Production caught up, hype died down, and now the same truck that once had wait lists is stacking up on lots with day supply numbers north of 5 months. The Hyundai Santa Cruz tells a similar story with a different twist. It's sitting at about 229 days of market day supply, over 9,600 units on lots, at an average price around $36,400. On paper, it's a fun lifestyle truck, built on a crossover platform for people who want truck looks without full truck size. In reality, it's under a discontinuation cloud. Automotive industry reporting says Hyundai plans to end production after a single generation to pivot to a larger midsize truck. Hyundai officially says its plans are unchanged, but perception matters more than press releases. A nameplate that might be dead on arrival is a tough sell when buyers are spending mid-30s money. Add in real owner complaints about the dual-clutch transmission paired with the turbo engine, low-speed shuddering and hesitation, and the Santa Cruz starts feeling risky. Even before that, the fundamentals were narrow. The bed is tiny, the back seat is cramped. The whole premise, a car-based truck for people who want some utility and a cool look, is aimed at a thin slice of the market. Then the Maverick showed up and ate its lunch by being cheaper and more practical, outselling Santa Cruz about 6-1 in 2025. When your rival does your idea better, for less, and with fewer reliability question marks, you get pushed to the edges of the segment. That's how you end up with nearly 8 months of inventory sitting unsold. For you as a buyer, these cheap trucks that stopped being cheap are double-edged swords. On one hand, long days supply and drifting prices mean dealers are far more flexible than they'll admit. They know these trucks have lost their original story and are hard to move at current stickers. That's why your leverage isn't just about asking for a lower number, it's about recognizing the underlying fear. With the Maverick, you can push for a discount that brings it back closer to the value promise it launched with, plus extras like service credits or accessories at cost, because Ford dealers would rather take a hit now than watch more units age. With the Santa Cruz, you can go further. Ask for a heavy price cut and stronger long-term support in writing, extended warranty, drivetrain coverage, maybe even future trade and incentives, because the discontinuation chatter and transmission complaints make it a harder truck to sell without sweeteners. And at this point in the video, when viewers are starting to see how quickly a must-have truck can become a negotiation orphan, it's the perfect moment to hand them more protection. This is where you naturally invite them to download your free ebook, Avoid These 17 Cars. In 2026, as the next layer of defense, you've shown them how hype fades, how prices creep, and how segments pivot. The ebook becomes the deeper checklist that keeps them from betting their money on the next Maverick or Santa Cruz story that sounds great on launch day, but quietly turns into another truck sitting unsold for months. Electric trucks are where the gap between fantasy and reality is the widest, and you can see it written directly into the inventory numbers. The Chevrolet Silverado EV sits at about 199 days of market day supply, with roughly 1,900 units on lots and an average price around $74,900. On paper, it looks incredible. Big range numbers, huge power, clever flexible bed tricks, and the promise of silent torque doing real truck work. But paper doesn't tow a trailer. In the real world, towing absolutely demolishes EV range, sometimes cutting it in half, and the people who buy trucks know it. The guy hauling equipment to a job site, the family pulling a camper into the mountains, the rancher dragging livestock. These aren't casual, we'll-figure-it-out drivers. They need predictability. When your range collapses under load, it doesn't matter how impressive the spec sheet is. The core problem is that truck buyers and EV buyers barely overlap right now. The traditional truck crowd cares about towing, payload, refueling time, and repairability. The typical EV crowd cares about quiet commuting, city charging, and environmental benefits. The Silverado EV tries to sit in the middle, asking nearly $75,000 from a buyer who's still nervous about finding a charging station at a rural job site. Once federal EV tax credits expired at the end of September 2025, that nervous buyer lost the one big financial cushion that made taking a chance feel acceptable. Suddenly, the math changed. The same truck that looked tolerable with a fat tax rebate attached became a very expensive experiment without one. Demand for premium electric pickups fell off a cliff, and those 1,900 Silverado EVs started piling up. The GMC Sierra EV pushes that problem even further. It's sitting at roughly 225 days of market day supply, with only about 2,600 units on lots, but an average price in the neighborhood of $81,400. This is the luxury electric truck problem in pure form. The Sierra EV is essentially the upscale cousin of the Silverado EV, draped in chrome and leather, packed with tech, and pitched as a premium EV pickup. That price puts it directly against loaded gas Sierra Denalis, high-end SUVs, and EV trucks with stronger identities like Rivian. For $80 grand, a buyer can buy a traditional luxury truck with proven behavior under load, a premium SUV with wide dealer support, or an EV brand built from the ground up to be an electric statement. The Sierra EV doesn't have a clear answer for why it deserves that money over those options. It's heavy. It's expensive. The charging anxiety that scares off work truck buyers doesn't magically disappear because you added nicer leather. There's also a badge problem. GMC doesn't carry the kind of EV credibility that Tesla or Rivian built over years of owning that space. And without federal tax credits, even the old will knock some off the top with rebates, math stops working. An $80,000 truck that takes 8 months to clear inventory is the market politely declining the invitation. EV truck buyers who did jump in early have already felt the pain in towing range, winter performance, and charging logistics. And they're talking. Word spreads faster than marketing can patch over. For you, this is where the leverage on EV trucks becomes very real. Dealers know demand is thin. They know production targets have already started to come down quietly because manufacturers don't want to keep stacking unsold electric pickups in the back row. Floor plan interest doesn't care whether a truck burns gas or electrons. It just charges them every month the truck sits. So when you walk in, looking at a Silverado EV or Sierra EV, you're not the wide-eyed early adopter they were banking on anymore. You're potentially the only serious buyer they'll see this week. That changes everything. The smart play here is to treat these trucks like high-risk assets and price them accordingly. You don't just ask, "Can you do better?" You aim for a serious cut, enough to account for the range compromise, the missing tax credit, and the weak resale future on a truck the market is still unsure about. You stack every available rebate, push for dealer-side discounts that bring the price down to where it feels more like a calculated gamble than a blind leap, and then you ask for extras that cost the dealer less than another 60 days of sitting inventory. That can be home charger credits, installation help, accessory packages at cost, or extended coverage on the battery and drivetrain. When a truck is stuck at 200+ days of supply, dealers don't need another brochure reader. They need an exit. If you walk in understanding why the Silverado EV and Sierra EV are sitting unsold for 5, 6, 7 months, you can be that exit and name terms that actually make the risk worth taking on your side. The midsize and lifestyle truck segment is where you can really see how one dominant nameplate and a few very specific flaws can leave good-on-paper trucks stuck for half a year or more. Start with the backdrop, the Toyota Tacoma. It's the fastest-selling truck in America, and it absolutely dominates the midsize space. When buyers walk onto a lot thinking midsize truck, they're already imagining a Tacoma. That matters, because every other truck in the segment isn't just fighting for attention, it's fighting against a truck with reputation, resale, and a decade of proven durability baked in. That's the Gravity Ridgeline, Frontier, Santa Cruz, and Gladiator are trying to escape, and most of them don't. The Honda Ridgeline is a quietly capable machine. It rides smoother than traditional pickups, the in-bed trunk is genuinely useful, and the build quality is classic Honda. But the core problem is DNA. It's a unibody truck built on a crossover platform, while every serious competitor in the segment is body-on-frame. To a lot of truck buyers, that disqualifies it before they even open the door. The Ridgeline appeals to a narrow buyer who wants Honda reliability and a car-like ride more than they want real truck character. That buyer pool isn't big enough to keep inventory moving, which is why you see high market day supply and thousands of units waiting for someone who doesn't flinch at the unibody badge. The Nissan Frontier sits in a similar shadow. On paper, Nissan finally did a lot right. Strong 3.8-liter V6, genuine off-road chops in Pro 4X, tough body-on-frame chassis, and pricing under the Tacoma. Yet it's sitting at around 156 days of supply, with over 21,500 units on lots, and an average price just under $40,000. The reasons are simple. First, Tacoma dominance. Shoppers keep walking past everything else to get to the Toyota. Second, Nissan's brand momentum has cooled. The lineup feels stale. Dealer experiences have been hit or miss, and the Frontier lacks hybrid or diesel options to soften fuel and running costs. It's not that the truck is bad, it's that the combination of not Tacoma plus not especially efficient makes that $40,000 sticker a tough sell in a crowded field. Then you've got the Hyundai Santa Cruz and Jeep Gladiator, two lifestyle-leaning trucks that show what happens when you aim at a niche and miss some of the basics. The Santa Cruz is a compact, crossover-based truck, sitting at about 229 days of supply and around 9,600 units on lots, with an average price of $36,400. The bed is tiny, the back seat is cramped, and the dual-clutch transmission paired with the turbo engine has drawn real owner complaints about low-speed shuddering and hesitation. On top of that, Automotive News reporting says Hyundai plans to end production after one generation to pivot to a larger mid-size truck, putting the current Santa Cruz under a discontinuation cloud buyers can feel. When Maverick exists as a cheaper, more practical rival and outsells Santa Cruz roughly 6-1, that cloud gets darker. The Jeep Gladiator takes the truck as lifestyle idea and tries to merge it with pure Jeep identity. On paper, it's a Wrangler with a bed. In practice, it's stuck at about 233 days of supply, more than 21,000 units on lots, at an average price around $48,700. The solid front axle is great for crawling rocks, but makes highway driving feel vague and tiring. The bed is short enough that serious truck users feel cramped. Fuel economy struggles to break the low 20s on the highway, and Stellantis reliability question marks hang over the whole package. Wrangler buyers who want open-air fun just buy a Wrangler for less. Truck people who need to work buy a more straightforward pickup. That leaves a very thin slice of buyers who want both and will pay a premium for it, and there just aren't enough of them. From the dealer's perspective, these trucks are expensive compromises. They require more explanation, more test drives, more "let me show you why this still works for you" conversations. Meanwhile, the aging reports keep ticking up. Every month a Gladiator, Santa Cruz, Ridgeline, or Frontier sits, the floor plan interest bill grows. That's the pressure you can use. When you walk in, you don't have to pretend these trucks are perfect. You can openly acknowledge the reputation issues, the discontinuation chatter, the comfort and efficiency trade-offs, and the fact that the Tacoma exists. You can point to inventory levels online and the day's supply numbers that show these aren't flying off shelves. A practical negotiation script sounds like this. You tell the dealer, you know this truck has been sitting for months. You know the segment is dominated by rivals, and you're willing to take it off their hands if the price reflects those realities. You aim for a deep discount that brings the payment in line with safer alternatives, then ask for extras that help offset future risk. Extended warranty coverage, service credits, accessories at cost, maybe even short-term trade-in guarantees on models under discontinuation clouds. You're not attacking the product. You're solving an inventory problem they can't fix with another ad. When a truck is trying to be something different in a segment that clearly wants more of the same, that difference turns into leverage. If you're the rare buyer willing to own that difference, you should get paid for it up front. The next move is yours. You can pretend these trucks are just expensive toys and hope the dealer does you a favor, or you can use what you just learned to walk in with a clear plan and a number that makes sense. You can be the person who pays what the data says the truck is worth, not what the sticker hopes you'll accept. And if you want to make sure you don't just win on these 8 trucks, but avoid the next wave of mistakes entirely, take one more step before you buy anything. Download my free ebook, Avoid These 17 Cars in 2026. It's the deeper checklist built on the same kind of hard data and brutal market reality you just watched, designed to keep you out of the next Maverick-style price drift, the next Santa Cruz-style discontinuation cloud, the next Lightning-style misread. Because the trucks sitting unsold today are warnings about what can go wrong. That ebook turns those warnings into a playbook, so the next time you walk onto a lot, you're not the one paying for the industry's mistakes.